At some point in life, you wake up and feel that this world suddenly becomes too loud. It does not start with a shocking event. It starts very softly. It begins like a leaking faucet in the middle of the night, a drip that you can barely hear, but eventually it fills the whole room. You wake up one morning and the sound of your alarm clock feels like an assault. You step out of bed and the hum of the refrigerator sounds like a heavy machine. You walk into a familiar coffee shop where you used to sit for hours with friends. But today, the background music, the clinking of cups, and the laughter suddenly are no longer the sounds of life. They become something sharp. They scratch at your eardrums. You look around at the people sitting there. They seem fine. But you feel like you are standing in the middle of a construction site without a helmet. You go out to the street. Car horns, engine sounds, hawkers' voices. Before they were just the background of the city. But now they slam into your chest like invisible punches. Every honk feels like a physical blow. You feel exhausted. Not the exhaustion of manual labor. This is a deep, marrow-level exhaustion. It is the exhaustion of a person having to tense up every muscle to filter out the impurities of sound. Your brain is working overtime just to keep the world at bay. And then you realize the noise comes not only from vehicles or music. The mechanical noise is manageable. But there is another kind of noise that you cannot escape so easily. The most cruel noise comes from people. You sit in a meeting at work or a dinner party. People are talking. They are talking a lot. But strangely, you do not hear information. You only hear noise. It sounds like a broken radio tuning between stations. You hear repetitive stories about money, about status, about who is dating whom. You hear endless complaints about work and politics. They say the same things they said last week. Before you could participate in that, you could play the game. You could laugh, nod, and add a witty comment. But now, your body resists. Your throat chokes up. Your chest tightens. You feel nauseous. A strange sensation invades. You want to leave immediately. Not because you hate them, but because you notice a heartbreaking truth. Most of what is being emitted, there is not communication. It is fear. They are throwing words into the air to build a wall. They fear silence. They fear having to face themselves. If the conversation stops, they might have to hear their own thoughts. So they create noise to lull it. And you, who are gradually awakening, suddenly become allergic to that artificial filling. You return home, close the door, turn off the lights. You crave silence like a dying man craves water. You sit in the dark, and for the first time in the day you can breathe. You think that you are getting old, or perhaps you are becoming difficult, eccentric. You ask yourself, am I being depressed? Why do I no longer find joy in the bustle? Why does a birthday party feel like a punishment? But listen carefully. It is not a disease. It is not a withdrawal due to weakness. It is the first sign of a great transformation. It is the symptom of a soul that is outgrowing its shell, and then by natural reflex, you try to fix this problem, because that is what men do. We fix things. You start looking for external solutions. You buy the most expensive noise-canceling headphones. You wear them like a shield. You walk through the world trying to block out the reality. You avoid meetings. You make excuses to skip the Friday night drinks. You take leave to go to a deserted beach or a high mountain, hoping to find peace. You start judging noisy people. You look at them with uncomfortable eyes. You look at the loud talker on the phone with anger. You think, If they were silent, I would be happy. You think that the problem lies in the world out there. You believe that society is degrading and you are the only sane one left. You think you need to build a wall to stop it. But the more you try to control sound, the more sensitive you become to it. Do you notice that? When you put headphones on, just a small sound slipping through is enough to drive you crazy. When you hide on the mountain, the sound of an insect buzzing can ruin your meditation. The sound of a dry leaf falling can startle you. You try to rearrange your life to eliminate noise. You filter your friend list. You delete the apps. You live minimally. But strangely, even when the room is completely quiet, inside your head growls still echo. The external silence only amplifies the internal noise. You hear the sound of old arguments. The sound of anxieties about the future screams at you. The sound of torment about the past whispers in your ear. Physical silence does not bring the peace you imagine. That is the trap. You are trying to use action to seek stillness. You are fighting war to find peace. You are trying to do something to achieve the state of doing nothing. It is like trying to flatten a lake by slapping the water. The more you slap, the more agitated the water becomes. The more you try to chase away noise, the more you create conflicts inside yourself. You are at war with reality. You think that you need a quiet space, but actually what you are looking for is not the absence of sound. You are looking for the absence of resistance. Let's go deeper. There is another layer of noise, the digital noise. It is not just sound waves. It is the noise of information. Even when your phone is silent, it is screaming. Every notification is a noise. Every red dot is a shout demanding your attention. You scroll through social media, and it is a cacophony. Someone is shouting their opinion. Someone is bragging about their life. Someone is selling you a dream. It is a crowded marketplace where everyone holds a megaphone, and you carry this marketplace in your pocket. You bring it into your bedroom. No wonder you cannot tolerate the noise of the real world. Your bandwidth is already full. Your processing power is at 100% capacity. When you add a car horn on top of that, your system crashes. You snap. This is not because you are weak. It is because you are overloaded. Now, stop for a moment. Breathe deeply. Let me ask you a question that can change everything. What if your inability to tolerate noise is not a defect? What if it is an upgrade? Imagine you are a radio. For most of your life, you were tuned to a low frequency, the frequency of survival, the frequency of the herd, the frequency of chaos and gossip. At that frequency, noise is food. You needed it to feel safe. You needed the stimulation to feel that you existed. But now, unknowingly, the knob inside you has turned. You are shifting. You are starting to catch signals at a higher frequency. The frequency of truth, the frequency of presence. The problem is, you are in the transition zone. You are in the static. You no longer fit the old frequency. The old jokes aren't funny. The old ambitions feel hollow, but you are not yet stable at the new frequency. So you hear the crackle. The noise you hear is the static of changing channels. It is growing pains. The noise of the world has not changed. The world has always been noisy for thousands of years. The market is still crowded. The only thing changing is you. You can no longer tolerate noise because your soul is becoming transparent. Think of a glass window. When a pane of glass is covered in mud, throwing more mud at it doesn't change much. But when you wipe that glass clean, a single speck of dust becomes visible. Your soul is being cleaned. Your discomfort is proof that you no longer want to live in falseness. Empty social conversations and cheap entertainment are layers of covering. They are the matrix designed to lull humans to sleep. They keep you distracted and consuming. When you start awakening, you look through them, you see the wires, you not only hear sound, you feel the vibration behind it. You hear someone boasting, but you feel their insecurity. You realize most of those vibrations are hollow. You do not hate noise, you hate the lie. You hate the hollowness. You do not need absolute silence. You need the truth. To understand this, look at how society operates. Why are humans so afraid of silence? Observe people in an elevator. The door closes. 10 seconds of silence feels like an eternity. Why must they pull out their phones? Why must they turn on music the moment they get in a car? Because silence is a mirror. When sounds turn off, distraction fades. Humans are forced to face their reflection. They must face the questions they have avoided. Who am I? Am I happy? What meaning does my life have? Those questions are terrifying. Therefore, they create noise. They build a wall of sound to keep the truth away. Noise is the makeup applied to the naked face of reality. They use noise to build the ego. The ego loves noise. I am busy. Therefore I exist. But you, the man walking alone, have seen the meaninglessness of that play. Imagine your mind is a large empty room. If that room is filled with broken furniture and trash, you cannot walk. The noisy sounds of society are that furniture. They fill the mind, leaving no space for peace. When you feel a headache from noise, your soul is screaming to clean the room. It wants to throw the furniture out. It wants space. Your sensitivity is a protection mechanism. It is like a fever fighting a virus. The fever makes you uncomfortable, but it is burning the pathogen. Your discomfort is burning the social illusions you used to cling to. You start realizing that deep connection does not need words. You realize that a truly confident person does not need to be loud. The lion does not need to bark. You realize that truth is never noisy. Truth always whispers. So what must you do? Must you run to a cave? Must you isolate yourself forever? No. That is the way of escape. As Alan Watts said, if you run away from the world, you carry the world in your luggage. You take your noisy mind with you. The solution is not turning off the world. The solution is changing the physical structure of your consciousness. Visualize the difference between a stone wall and an open space. When you throw a stone at a wall, the sound is loud, clack. The impact is strong. The wall shakes. That is how you live currently. You are a wall trying to block the noise. You are rigid. You resist. And because of that resistance, you hurt. But imagine if you throw that stone into the empty sky. The stone flies through. There is no sound. There is no collision. The sky does not get hurt. The space does not need to try to tolerate the stone. It simply lets it pass. This is the secret. Become the space. Do not be the wall. Don't try to block the noise. Don't label it as bad. Let it pass through you. Imagine you are in traffic and someone honks. The old, you would get angry. The new, you simply registers it as a vibration. A sound wave touches the ear and dissolves. Do not tell a story about it. It is just energy dissipating in the air. When you hear colleagues gossiping, do not judge them. Treat it like birds singing in a jungle. It is just sound. It has no power to harm you unless you allow it to cling to your ego. This is the art of hearing without hearing. You hear everything, but you hold on to nothing. You become transparent. You sit in the crowd, but you sit in a sphere of inner stillness. You do not need them to be silent for you to be at peace. Your peace is active. It originates from within. You become the observer. You see everyone rushing and screaming in the theater of life, but you are no longer an actor on the stage. You sit in the audience, smiling and observing. When you practice this letting go, a miracle happens. The world flips. You start hearing sounds you never heard before. You discover the sound of silence. It sounds paradoxical, but stillness is not empty. It is a living presence. It is a hum. It is the foundation upon which all sounds dance, like white paper allowing ink to be seen. You start finding joy in small moments. The sound of boiling water becomes a symphony. The sound of tires on a wet road becomes a rhythm. The sound of your own heartbeat becomes a lullaby. And more importantly, you start connecting with people who carry that stillness. The tribe of silent men, you recognize them by the look in their eyes. They do not need to say much. They do not suck energy from the room, they ground it. When you talk to them, the silence is not awkward. It is a bridge. Two people can sit together without a word and feel completely understood. That is the reward of walking alone. You leave the superficial crowd to find true connections. Connections based on the resonance of two clean souls. Finally, you will understand that you are homesick. You are missing a home you cannot remember, but you feel not a house of bricks, but the house of your true self. That place is inherently peaceful. The noise of the world is a test. It is a constant reminder of who you are. Every time you feel uncomfortable, do not get angry. Thank the noise. It is the alarm clock saying, you are straying outside. Return inside. Use the noise as a trigger to return to presence. When the drill starts, let it drill you deeper into your center. Do not hate the world for being noisy. The world is doing its job. It is a dance of energy and chaos. Your job is not to stop the dance. Your job is to find the still point in the middle of the storm. When you do that, you become invincible. You can walk in the market. You can sit in a noisy party, and yet your mind remains like a lake in autumn, smooth, reflective. Nothing can touch you. You walk alone, but you carry a universe of stillness inside. That is the ultimate power of an awakened man. The world will still be noisy. Let it be. But you are already the stillness.